are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue, Thursday, November 2nd, and we have another episode for you today. Appreciate you being here. We are going to be halfway through the NFL regular season after this week concludes, right before Week 10 starts. So, wrapping up this first half of the season, it'll be good. Kind of get a full scope on everything. You're going to get a packed and loaded show today. We're going to start off with Tim's rant like we normally do. This time, Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos are the subject of discussion. Getting into hits and misses to close out the first segment, and then into the second, we will have the top 10 NFL teams and the Week 9 predictions. So that'll be a good one. We like to do it every 4 weeks, get you guys an updated list. That'll be in the second segment. And then into the third, we will have our Week 9 bets on a budget, and of course, the game of the week to finish things out.
Coming off a winning week, we needed it. At the 0-5 hurt big time, 2 weeks ago. This past week now, 3-2, still not perfect. We're getting there. It
was a winning week. We're still above 500. That's what matters.
Yeah, 52.5%. I feel like a 4-1, 5-0 week's coming our way. We'll see.
We're due.
We are due.
Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching or listening, no matter how you're joining us today. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Amazon Prime Video, iTunes, and, of course, iHeartRadio and the iHeartRadio app. Guys, we appreciate it.
I feel like my rants are normally kind of negative, so we're gonna flip it to the positive side. I'm usually ripping on somebody for being not that good of a Dak. Hey, against playoff teams, he's not very good. It's honest, but it's kind of a little bit more negative. So I'm gonna be a little bit more positive. And I'm not gonna sit here and say Denver's a great team. That's not where I'm going with this. Just because they beat the Chiefs once, they're not a great team. But we do have to be honest about something because I got crushed on my stance for Russ forever. Right? I said when he was in Seattle, I think he's fantastic. I think he's the reason that they win primarily. Now, obviously, we see now that he's gone. Pete Carroll's a great coach, and that he had a big part to do with that as well. But I called for Russ to win the MVP one year. I think he's a future Hall of Fame level player, although I think he's out of his prime now. But I do think he is a future Hall of Fame, level quarterback. Again, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with him at this stage. That might be out the window at this point. But I do think against average to below average teams, I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. Now, again, against really good defense in the playoffs on the road, like they would need to do eventually to win the Super Bowl or even get there, I'm not sure he's going to go on the road and beat a Buffalo defense or anybody from the AFC North, really, probably the Ravens or Cincy. He's not ready for that. He's not going to get that. But let's be honest about Russ this year. He's completing 66% of his throws, 4 touchdowns to 1 pick. He's got 16 TDs, 4 picks, pass rating of 102. The only catch is he's averaging 201 yards per game. A little bit low. But if I'm getting that efficiency, the experience of Russ, right? He's been around the league, experienced, and since Sean Payton's come in, not a ton of noise. If I get that, I don't need 300 plus. I don't need a Herbert level stat line. Give me 2 touchdowns, no picks, 194 yards, complete 30 of 38. I'm fine with that. Now, our prediction of 10-7 for them, probably a little bit crazy. I don't think they'd get there. Did we revise that to 9-8? Maybe. I don't know. Either way, we had them as an above 500 team. I'm not sure they get there. I think they dug themselves too much of a hole. But you don't think that's an 8-win team? Right now, they're 3-5. You don't think that's an 8-win team? At least? You could even look towards 9. I think it is. Look at the schedule. I don't think it's crazy. You get Josh Allen and Herbert twice. That's going to suck. And you get the Lions. Right? So if you can win one of those games, maybe you get one of the Herbert games. It's a divisional opponent. You've seen them twice. They go 2 Mile High. It's late in the year. Who knows? Might be snowing. We don't even know about Brandon Staley. There's a real possibility he could get outcoached by Sean Payton. So you probably split with them. So could you go 1-3 in those games? But then other than that, who do they have? You got whoever Minnesota's backup is going to be, because Kirk's now out with that torn Achilles. So you have whoever Minnesota's starting. That's probably a win. You got Mac Jones, the awful Raiders, and P.J. Walker for Cleveland, or if actually worse for Cleveland, if you get Deshaun Watson back. I think you'd rather have P.J. Walker keep going, or you can get Deshaun Watson back. I think all of those are very, very winnable games, and I would argue I would pick them in all of those games. So I don't think they're a very good team. I don't even think they're a good team. Are they an above-average team? Absolutely. I do see 7, 8. You could argue me into 9 wins. Which, if you told them that after they got ran for 70 in Miami, I think they'd take it. If you said, hey, I know you guys got ran by 50, you lost 70-20, but you're going to win 8 games this year, I think they'd be like, sign me up. Yep, sign it up. They were 1-5 at one point. They've now won 2 straight. I think they would take it. I really do. And now on the flip side of that game, because I do think this was one of the most important games of the weekend in terms of, scope and looking ahead for the rest of the year. On the flip side, I do think the Chiefs have an issue, and I'm not 100% sure it's solvable. Their receivers lead football in drops. Lead all of the league in drops. I mean, let the local kid, Sky Moore, total bust. He just can't play. He's not an NFL receiver. Punt returner, sure. Gadget guy, yeah, maybe. He's not a legitimate 1, 2, 3. I would argue probably not even a 4 in this league. I don't see that. Kadarius Toney's not very good. Rashee Rice is too young to tell. Marquez Valdez-Scantling was never really good unless it was with Aaron Rodgers, and he's pretty washed. Not Rodgers, MVS. So that's a problem. But realistically, if you said coming into this year, right, you said, well, the Chiefs might take a slight step back, but I think it's going to be in their passing game. I think their defense is going to be better. Their offensive line is going to be really good. They're going to be able to run the football. I have a concern with their passing game and them throwing the football. I'd say, okay, they're going to figure it out, right? If you said, give me any problem the Chiefs could have, if you said, hey, it's Mahomes in the offense with Andy Reid, I'd say, okay, I'll take that any day over a defense that gives up 30 a game, over a bad offensive line, right? That's a good problem to have. And I'm still pretty confident that whenever push comes to shove, right, playoffs, on the road, back against the wall, I think Mahomes and company, they're going to figure that out. They're going to figure the passing game out. It's certainly an issue to keep your eye on, but that's... I don't know if they ever get back to Tyreek Hill level form, but are they going to be good? Yeah, I think they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. They're still the number 1 team in the AFC. They're still going to go ahead and win 11, 12, 13 games. They're going to be fine. It's definitely something to keep your eye on. So to sum up here, Denver, not a bad spot to be in. Really not a bad spot. I think you can get clarity now. Hey, I think we can move forward with Russ. Is it maybe for the next 5 years? Maybe not. Is he your quarterback next year? Probably. Yeah, probably. He's 4 touchdowns to 1 pick. You send that out of the building, that's like the Colts sending Carson Wentz out of the building after, 27 touchdowns, 7 picks? Okay, grow up. That's a good stat line. You just quit making your decision with emotion and actually look at the facts. So in Denver, they'll be fine. Are they Super Bowl winners? No. Chiefs, they'll be fine. They'll figure out that offense. If their worst problem is Mahomes' production, I think they're fine. I think they're going to be fine.
I was shocked by that game this week.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a surprise. Yeah.
I mean, it was insane. And from Denver's perspective, at least you have something good to build on and start going off of for the rest of the year. It's a big win. You're still stuck with Russ for a long time because of that contract. There's no way out. So you better hope that he starts playing better.
Well, as you said, I'm arguing it's not a bad thing to be stuck to him. No, again, is he the contract? 5 years? I think.
Yeah, I'd like to see some sample size.
Do I? Yeah. Well, yeah. Do I think for 5 years he's going to be really good? Probably not. But is he your quarterback next year? Yeah.
He's going to have to be.
Well, I mean, you could in theory get out of it because it's not like the Deshaun where it's fully guaranteed. You could in theory get out of it, although it would be tough.
Either way, great win for Denver this week, huh?
Yeah, good win.
Let's go. We're going to move into hits and misses here on a Thursday.
Hit number 1. I'm going to go and take my victory lap now. I've already had people tell me, hey, nice call, man. Good stuff. Text me. What a genius decision. Bryce Young.
I was going to say that.
And the Carolina Panthers, baby, getting their first win over Houston. Look, I think Houston's fine. I think the media gushing over them. Oh, C.J. Stroud's a star. Was a little bit much. Let's just pump the brakes a little bit. He's fine. He's fine. Let's not act like he's, Jesus. And it's Houston. Houston's going to always find a way to Houston. They're a sub 500 team. Let's come back to reality a little bit. I said, hey, look, Carolina's due for one. They're at home. They're both off a bye. Offensive coaches are better off a bye than defensive coaches historically in terms of, wins-loss statistics. So I said, hey, I like the Panthers. What do you know? Big dub, 15-13.
We needed it in picks, too, so way to go.
Needed it. Absolutely had to have it.
That was a pivotal one. Keep us above 500. I love that.
What can I say? Sometimes you got to dumpster dive. You got to take some risks, and I did, and it was fantastic.
Well, I'm glad.
Mr. Number 1 here. Will Levis, huh? How about that? I think we did comparisons. We compared it to Jay Cutler, which, I mean, who knows? It's one game. He still might be a Jay Cutler because Jay's got talent. But I didn't think he'd look like that. I didn't expect 4 touchdowns, especially 3 to somebody D-Hop, who D-Hop's fine. I don't view him as a top 10 receiver anymore. I don't view him as a top 25 receiver anymore.
He's regressed a lot, yeah.
Yeah, his age is starting to show, which is fine. He'll be a Hall of Famer, but I did not expect that from Will Levis. I mean, you see how different the offense can look with a competent quarterback in terms of arm strength, accuracy down the field. 3 of those were long bombs for those touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's what he provides to an offense. I mean, to be able to move the launch point on that, I think it was his 3rd touchdown, the one to the corner of the end zone, not the one not to D-Hop, where play action fake, he rolls right, throws the whole way across the field left, right? So they're changing the launch point of that throw. And basically that roll is going to move Jesse Bates, the safety, to that side of the field, and then boop, throw it over his head. You can't call that with Ryan Tannehill. Will Levis changes the way you can call your offense. That's how you know you at least have something. I don't know how good he's going to be. Well, you have something.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to be great or even good, but in this spot, we finally saw some of the flash that he was, supposed to have coming out of Kentucky.
Right, we knew
Kentucky had the big arm, the big throws, and that's what we saw this week.
Could move Atlanta a little bit.
And hey, Atlanta defense is no joke.
They're at least bare minimum average.
They're like right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and he beat them. Not convincingly. It was a 5-point game, but I mean, it was
not
as close as that.
When you can do that to an NFL defense.
Yeah, for sure. 4 touchdowns is legit no matter who you're playing.
Looks good.
I mean, look, Kenny Pickett's got 1 of 2. 2 touchdowns. So he's got 1 game of 2 touchdowns in his career so far. So hit number 2 here. There's a reason we had Cincinnati winning the division. I didn't sell my stock early in the year. Neither did you. We said, look, Joe Burrow's going to get healthy. They're going to get right. They'll be fine. Is he, right now, is he the best quarterback in football? There's certainly an argument.
Well, the funny thing is, we put him in that top 10 quarterbacks list last week.
Was he? I think he was like 7 or 8 or 9. We had him at number
9.
Yeah.
Had him at number 9, and we said this is the guy on the list that has the most potential to play his way up the list throughout the season.
Yeah, I'm thinking 28 for 32 for 3 tuds, no picks, 135 QBR against one of the best defenses in football to beat them by 2 touchdowns on the road.
Insane.
I'm thinking that'll catapult you up the list quite a bit.
He's looking really good.
That's wild. I mean, he is. So I know Mahomes has this, the ability to do stuff that nobody else can, right? I like Burrow, but Burrow's not making those sidearm throws and the on the run across the body 40 yards. Is he maybe the best situational third down have to have at quarterback in football?
I think I would make the argument.
In terms of throwing the ball, because Mahomes can scramble a little bit better than he can. In terms of delivering on third down, throwing the football, red zone, situational football, I think he's the best quarterback in the league.
Well, like I said last week, he makes me feel very safe and
if you're a Bengals fan,
comfortable. Yeah, I mean, like if you're rooting for Joe Burrow,
yes,
or if you're watching,
if you're not a Steelers fan, watching
objectively, he makes you feel safe. He's not going to make the stupid decision most of the times, and when you need something, he'll have it.
With somebody who's so good and so reliable, I don't understand how people keep falling for the trap of, well, they were bad early in the year. Well, they've been bad early in the year the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, I was going to say they were bad earlier in the year when they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so look, they figure it out. Joe Burrow has missed time, first of all, the COVID year, and then what? Then he had, a major surgery? I think he had like an appendectomy or something last season, before the season.
Sounds right.
And now this year, the calf strain. Like, he's rarely had an actual offseason, so he started slow all the time. He picks it back up. He'll be fine. Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, good for them.
Love it.
Mr. Number 2 here, we have consistently said the NFL is the best league. I do still believe that. But to not have full-time officials is berserk.
We saw that.
That is absolute. It's showing big time. It is wild.
We saw it live and in person in Pittsburgh
brutal.
this week.
It was that was maybe the worst officiated football game I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. Not only is it frustrating, it is significantly hurting the product of the game. I also watched like 4 other games, especially in that late window. So many unwatchable calls to the point where, like, if I saw that call and I was a fan of that team, I'd probably turn off the TV and go do yard work or something. Like, it was that bad. Like I said, it's hurting the product of the game. I mean, they're flat out losing viewers. There's over 1 million less viewers this year than there were last year. You go look at any surveys. There's multiple surveys out there that are stating that the new rules and how they're being officiated are the reason people are not watching. And the NFL's just not doing anything about it. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it.
I understand some of like the player safety stuff to an extent, but everything seems to be getting just more touchy-feely in this league. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also the inconsistency that's really starting to piss me off. It's the can hit a quarterback up high, doesn't matter, he's a rookie, we're not calling it. Or, you know,
it's the roughing the passer call against Pittsburgh when we hit Trevor Lawrence, but then as soon as, you know, their entire defensive line takes Kenny Pickett back out behind the barn and does what they do to him, and then there's no call.
Nothing. It's just blatant and ignorant to not have full-time officials. For a league that makes billions of dollars, to have Joe freaking Schmo off the street
hundreds of billions
is ridiculous. I mean, they are horrendous. It's the worst officiated major sport by a freaking country mile. And you think MLB officials are bad or umpires are bad? Oh my God. They run circles around NFL officials. It's not even close.
That and hockey is pretty bad, too.
I would take hockey officials any day of the week.
Yeah,
any day of the week. At least most of the time, they're consistent.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Hit number 3 here. Can the Steelers ever remove their head from their freaking ass and fire Matt Canada? Are we kidding with this? Is this a freaking joke? It's embarrassing at this point. It is downright embarrassing. To have 70 yards on the ground in a rainstorm, you are the Pittsburgh Steelers. You run the football, you have tough defense. That is your brand of football. It's rainy, it's cold, you're at home. That is such a game where you run the football, you control that game. Matt Canada is easily the worst coordinator I've ever seen in my entire life. I
agree. And can we go off on something else for a second? Is Najee Harris not the biggest bust from that draft?
Not the biggest bust, but he's certainly not good.
He is not a good running back. You're supposed to... We go and we spend all this draft capital and pick Najee Harris. For what? Jaylen Warren is running way better than he is.
Well, I think you can finally solidify in terms of the Steelers franchise. Quit drafting running backs early. Just
pick up a guy that's gonna follow the Chiefs.
Yeah.
The layout that they've used for the last 3, 4, 5 years.
100%. I couldn't agree more. It's just the Steelers.
Somebody cheap, somebody young, somebody that can freaking run.
The ignorance of the Steelers franchise is really starting to get to me. The whole, we're the Steelers and we do things a certain way and we're not going to apologize for it. Well, it's about time that you figure out a new method because it's not working. You tell me right now the difference between Bill Belichick and the Steelers. We win a little bit more. Are we the same? We're the same sorry ass offenses, the same regressing coaching staff. It's ridiculous. It's the same shit. It's unbelievable. Miss number 3 here. I'm fired up. I used to be a Jimmy G supporter. Miss number 3 here. I used to be a Jimmy G supporter. Good Lord, is he bad? They're going to be drafting a quarterback 100%. I used to say Jimmy G's been to a Super Bowl a lot better than people gave him credit for, especially in that Kyle Shanahan system. He knows Josh McDaniels. They have good weapons. I figured, hey, he'll at least be decent. The throws he missed Devontae Adams on Monday Night Football were egregious.
Especially
they were wide open.
That wide open, yeah.
It's bad. I don't really have an answer. I can tell you one thing: they will be drafting a quarterback in a loaded quarterback draft. If they don't, that'd be a massive mistake. There's a really good chance they clean house. McDaniel's gone. Get a new quarterback. Get a new GM. Just top down, clean house. I mean, in the NFL, we know you have to have a decent owner. Well, their owner already sucks, so let's just throw that out the window.
Yeah.
Good GM, good quarterback, good coach. You can get those 3 things. You can get those ducks in a row. You're going to be a good football team. I think they're going to clean house. Go ahead and go get a new coach. Go get a Ben Johnson from Detroit or something.
Oh, okay.
Go draft a Bo Nix and make something work.
Well, they need to make something work. Is what we saw on Monday Night Football looked horrendous.
It was bad.
Either way, guys, stick around. On the other side of the break, we have the top 10 NFL teams after Week 8, as well as the Week 9 predictions. So you're not going to want to miss that one. Don't go anywhere.
All right, welcome back. It's The Issue, first episode in November, which means the Cincinnati Bengals are good again. It seems like it's that every year, but anyway. Welcome back in again. If you missed the first segment, go back and watch. We talked about the Denver and Kansas City game from this past Sunday. Kind of crazy. Denver not only beating them, but kind of destroying them 24-9. Kind of wild.
Them, yeah.
And, of course, hits and misses per usual. Getting into this segment here, we're going to have our top 10 NFL teams. We do it after every 4 weeks during the season. Then we get a more comprehensive view of the teams as opposed to week, a lot of fluctuation. I think every 4 weeks gives you a more consistent view of what these teams are, gives us a better idea of who's good, who's not good. And then, of course, we will have our predictions for Week 9 following this. 37 will have bets on a budget and the game of the week for Week 9. So either way, we appreciate you guys watching or listening, however you are, Spotify, iHeartRadio. There's a plethora of the platforms. They're all linked in pretty much everywhere. Website, description, you could find them all everywhere, but we appreciate you getting here however you did get here.
Absolutely. All right, guys, here we go. It is the list that is the most prominent on, YouTube, any sort of sports media channel outlet that you can possibly find. The most important list up until this point as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, I would say, right?
We are the most. It's the most important list from any podcast, any show in sports history.
It's coveted. All right, here we go. The top 10 NFL teams through Week 8. Let's go.
By the way, as soon as we state it, as soon as we post it, it is now accepted as fact. And you have to abide by it. It's the best list out there. Number 10, the Buffalo Bills. Look, they still have Josh Allen. They still have a serviceable defense. They still have Stephon Diggs. Outside of their top 3 or 4 players, there is not a lot of depth to this team. They don't run the football particularly well. I don't like the offensive line a ton. Ken Dorsey's been fine, but they still seem very Josh Allen dependent. If he has a really good game, they most likely win. If he has a B- to C+ game, they probably don't win. We saw that in New England, right? So you just don't know what you're getting from week to week with the Bills, and that's been their main problem. That's why they're at 10, but you still can't neglect the fact that they do have a lot of top-end talent. Yes, some injuries are hurting them, but they still have Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, some good guys on the defense. So, number 10 for the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, and I think this is going to be a team that kind of turns it around a little bit more and works their way back up the list by the next time that we do it. I'm going to go ahead and make that prediction that in the next 4 weeks, they're not going to be sitting at the 10 slot. I could see them around 6, 7, 8.
Oh, I'd be willing to make a wager that they're not in the top 10
well, really?
next time we do this list.
I don't know. I just think that team, the talent is undeniable. It's just, can they put it together?
I mean, do you want me to tell you the schedule? It gets rough. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let's go.
So next they go to Cincinnati.
Lost.
They get the Broncos at home. That's probably good. When they get the Jets at home, they have struggled with the Jets the past couple years. Then they go to Philadelphia. Then they go to Arrowhead. Then they get the Cowboys at home. That's still not a gimme. Then they go to L.A. to face the Chargers. Then they have the Patriots at home. Then they go to Miami, which has given them fits the last couple years in terms of being in Miami.
Hey, destiny's theirs.
I don't think it's an easy schedule. I don't know.
They rack up a couple wins in there, though. They're moving up.
We'll see. Number 9 is the team that I just mentioned, the Miami Dolphins. I think the offense is more dynamic and it's more consistent. Yes, I worry about them playing good quality playoff teams and good defenses. I worry about that with almost every quarterback in football, though.
Yeah.
I worry about that with Josh Allen. I worry about that with Dak Prescott. I worry about that with Geno. I worry about that with a ton of quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff. Most quarterbacks don't play well against playoff defenses. I think it's an indictment on them, but it's the reality of the situation. So I'm not going to hold that against them a ton. I still think the offense is really, really good. They get Jalen Ramsey back on the defense, so the defense should improve slightly. I mean, what, is Jalen Ramsey worth 3 points? Maybe, in terms of overall average per game. I think he could be worth about 3 points. So, hey, who knows? I think Miami's a lot better today than people give them credit for just because of the playoff thing. They're going to rip off a lot of wins here. They're going to be a 10, 11-win team, number 9 for Miami.
I like it. It's weird to see them above Buffalo after knowing that Buffalo beat them. But when you look at the season as a full piece, as itself,
Buffalo's just too inconsistent. Yeah. Miami's a little bit more consistent. Now again, we'll see with the schedule if they start playing tougher teams. Then who knows? But number 8, the Dallas Cowboys. They are a lot like Miami, they're a lot more like Buffalo than they are in Miami. I don't know what I'm getting from week to week from Dak, from that receiving core. If CeeDee Lamb rolls an ankle, I don't know who he's throwing the ball to. Tony Pollard doesn't seem like a 1. Their defense is good, not special, I don't think, without Trayvon Diggs. Yeah. I don't know what I'm getting, but they win games, and they clobbered L.A. this week. And I think the Rams are a very good football team. Maybe not very good. They're a very competent football team. Well coached, good quarterback. Defense has been better than expected, although not great, better than expected. Good run game, good weapons. They completely destroyed them, and it was not particularly close. So you got to give them credit where credit's due. Dallas still has the knockout punch ability just because good defense, good offensive line, can run the football, and when healthy and when at home, Dak's a very good quarterback. He's an A- quarterback at home as a favorite. And so that's got to be taken into account. Dallas at 8.
All of those things are true, but can they beat the average team? Can they not shoot themselves in the foot?
I was going to say, their main problem, and it's not exactly who they play. Yes, they lose more against playoff teams. Again, so does everybody in football. It's every third week they come out and they look like a bottom 3 team in football.
Well, they lose the game for themselves.
They come out the first 2 weeks scorching hot, and they go to Arizona and get throttled.
Yeah.
Then they respond with a big win against I forget who they beat after Arizona, and then they get throttled the next week. It's just they're very, very up and down. So look, they go out, they crush the Rams. They have Philly next week. What are the odds they get throttled? I'd say pretty high.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seattle at 7. To me, that might be that's the sleeping giant in the NFC. Let's just say that, because on any given Sunday, nobody wants to see that defense with Pete Carroll. They're fast, they're lanky, they're long. They are. That's a physical defense that gives you a lot of year before Legion of Boom vibes. They're not quite there. One more year in that system, they have Legion of Boom potential, but you can see it starting to formulate there.
Yeah.
And look, do I think Geno Smith's great? No, I don't. No, I think he's a B- quarterback. But he's been playing well. They can run the football. DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba starting to find his own in the slot there. Seattle has weapons. They have a good defense. And there's no doubt Pete Carroll's a top 10 coach in football. Seattle at 7.
It's they always surprise me. And they always seem to slip under the radar a little bit until you come out and you play them and you're like, oh my God, we just got absolutely waxed. So... yeah, they make sense there. Their offense is pretty good. Defense, like you said, is absolutely electric. So that's going to be enough to win you things in the NFC at least.
Well, yeah, and we gave you a team last week that could move up, and it was the Bengals, and they did. I'll give you a team this week. It's Seattle that I think could move down. I think eventually Seattle. No, I don't think they're going to plummet. I think they're going to be a very good football team. But I think they could end up closer to 9 or 10 than 6 or 7 probably.
Yeah.
So let's go number 6 here, Detroit. Look, Jared Goff, very accurate. On time, in rhythm, efficient. They can run the football. Jahmyr Gibbs is a stud.
Yeah, he's good.
A stud. I'm so glad Ben Johnson removed his own head from his own ass and started playing Jahmyr Gibbs more, because he is a significantly better running back than David Montgomery. It's not particularly close. And the defense has been serviceable. It was one of the worst units in football last year. They have been very good. Jack Campbell in the middle as a linebacker has been good as a first-round pick. Alex Anzalone has been one of the best linebackers in football. Their secondary is not great, but it's serviceable because they get a pass rush. They don't have to cover for 3 or 4 seconds. Can they cover for 2.5 to 3.5? Absolutely they can, and they have. Detroit at 6.
Yeah, I like them there. They looked good on Monday Night Football, especially in the first half. They looked super on time. The only thing that worried me a little bit was they started to decline pretty noticeably into the second half. Jared Goff started making some bad reads, and you're going to get the inconsistency with Jared Goff at some times, but most of the time, he's going to be a very solid quarterback. He's going to win you the game more often than he's going to lose you the game.
They are still so undervalued. They are one of the best teams against the spread over the last 2-3 years, and they have been very good. Number 5, San Francisco. Look, 3 straight losses has to ding you a little bit, but at the end of the day, ask yourself this. Anybody on this list below them, are you taking San Fran? We'll go neutral site, right? That way there's no home field advantage. Neutral site, are you taking them over anybody below? But realistically, are you taking Jared Goff to win against that defense?
No.
And I'm a huge Jared Goff supporter. You're not taking him against that defense. You're not taking Geno Smith against that defense.
I'm taking Dak.
I already saw Dallas against them. It was a massacre.
Yep.
Maybe Miami because they can score, but even then, do you think the defense is stopping George Kittle and Chris McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, that run game? I don't.
No.
Buffalo maybe if they're playing their A game, but who knows? Every other week it's an F game, so you never know. But for real, San Francisco's a good football team. They've run into some tough opponents these past couple weeks. Look, to go from physical Cleveland to then go on the road in prime time, that's a tough spot. Now, coming home against Cincinnati, that's a very winnable game. That's a game you can't lose by 2 touchdowns.
Also, when Joe Burrow goes 28 for 32.
Yeah, they ran into an all-time quarterback performance. So San Francisco is still a really good football team. Don't sell all your stock on Brock Purdy. Don't sell all your stock on that defense. They're going to be fine. They're going to go win 10 or 11 games. Nobody's going to want to face them first week in the playoffs. They're going to be fine. San Francisco at 5.
In my opinion, they still have the best roster in the NFL. So
I think they definitely, at least bare minimum, have a top 3 roster. I would argue maybe Philly might be better, but it's very close. Number 4, Cincinnati. Look, we told you that they'd be on the rise. They went from 9 to 4.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is spectacular. I mean, he is unbelievable. 28 for 32, 289, 3 touchdowns, 134.8 pass rating. Unbelievable. They did whatever they wanted. They ran the football with efficiency. Not for a ton of volume, not for a ton of yards per carry, but when they needed it, they got it. The defense played well, holding them to only 17 points. I think they had 3 turnovers, if I'm not mistaken. They are starting to find their stride, starting to find their rhythm. As Jamar Chase said, Burrow's back. That's all I got to say. Burrow is back. Bengals at 4.
That was clearly evident, too.
Number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. I do think they're slightly better because I think they get more of a pass rush.
Yeah.
And at this stage, they've been more consistent. Do I think at their peak Cincinnati's better? I do, yeah. But I think Baltimore's been more consistent. I know what I'm getting from week to week, especially from their defense. Cincinnati can be a little bit hit and miss. So Baltimore, better pass rush, better consistency. And I do think I think Burrow's better, but there's an argument that Lamar might be, on a week-to-week basis, the hardest quarterback to prepare for.
Yeah.
For example, I know we don't talk a lot about basketball, but Russell Westbrook, a lot of people like him because he's so hard. It's a Tuesday night in Milwaukee, and you're like, and he comes in for a road trip. You're like, well, I just played 18 hours ago. I didn't even get to watch film on Russ. He's just so athletic, so fast. Same thing with Lamar. It's like, dude, short week. What do you do for Lamar? You have nobody in practice to simulate him. There's an argument from a week-to-week basis. He's the hardest guy to prepare for.
I would agree with that, and I think just overall they're a very well-rounded team. I mean, their offense is electric, their defense is going to come get after you, and it's a very well-coached team too in Harbaugh. So, the Ravens sitting there at 3 makes sense.
Number 2, Kansas City. I think the only quarterback that is harder to prepare for is Patrick Mahomes because you just don't know what he's going to do off script. Their defense has been fantastic, and people are like, well, what are you talking about? This got crushed by Denver. Relax. They're 6-2. They plummeted. They dropped all the way from the number 1 seed in the AFC to, wait for it, the number 1 seed in the AFC after that loss. I mean, let's relax a little bit. They still have the best tight end in football, really good offensive line. Their defense is a top 5 defense so far this season. And again, if you told me that Patrick Mahomes in the passing game is going to be the biggest problem, I would sign up for that tomorrow if I'm a Kansas City fan. They will figure that out. Andy Reid will figure that out. Kansas City's going to be fine. Don't sell your stock. That's still a very good team with the best quarterback and the best coach in football.
Yeah, don't kid yourself. This team is going to deep into the playoffs, if not to the Super Bowl again. And it's going to be that way for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean,
they're going to sit atop this list for a long time.
Given their loss, who on this list would they not be favored against? Maybe the number 1 team, which is Philadelphia. Like, who are they not going to be favored against? They're going to be favored against everybody else on this list.
I would even say they'd probably be favored.
They'd probably, if it's at home, they'd probably be a 2.5-point favorite. If it's on the road, maybe it's a pick'em game. Maybe they're a 1-point dog. Yeah. I mean, really. And Philadelphia at number 1. I think they started to find their identity the last couple weeks. Physical, run the football. Now, I don't like how Jalen Hurts has been gimpy on that knee. Maybe they should stop throwing him into a fire 7 times a game with that tush push. Help. Look, if you want to do the play, if you absolutely need it on 4th down, 4th quarter, that's fine. First quarter, why are we putting our franchise quarterback right into the jaws of life? I mean, I don't understand it. You are knocking on hell's doorstep every time you run that play, and I do think that there's a realistic risk associated with that, and I don't think they're mitigating that risk properly. But at the end of the day, they have found their identity. Physical, running, get after your quarterback. And it's weird because Washington plays them really tough, so you might sell your stock a little bit. Oh, they only beat Washington by 7. This is a really good football team. They're going to be able to out-physical almost anybody in football, and when they can't, Jalen Hurts can still deliver from the pocket. There's an argument that A.J. Brown's the best wide receiver in football so far this year. He's been fantastic. Philadelphia at 1.
Love it. To run back through, Eagles at 1, Chiefs at 2, Ravens in the 3 spot, Bengals at 4, 49ers at 5, the Detroit Lions at 6, Seattle Seahawks at 7, Cowboys at 8, Dolphins 9, and of course the Buffalo Bills in the 10 spot there.
I feel really good about it.
I like it. Those are the top 10 NFL teams after Week 8 going into the second half of the season here pretty much as we gear up for that. Now, we have our predictions for Week 9.
I feel really good about these. Really good.
I got to make a little bit of a bounce back here. I've given up a 2-game lead, so let's just jump right into that.
I might as well start with the Thursday night game tonight. Lurs at the Titans. So early in the season, kind of hurt me when I started fading the Steelers early season. But lately it's been helping me. I'm going to fade him again. I think the Titans are a good football team with Will Levis. What he provides them down the field throwing is something they didn't have with Ryan Tannehill. Everything was 4 yards in a cloud of dust. Run Derrick Henry, short passing game with Tannehill. The ability to stretch the field completely changes this offense, actually gets DeAndre Hopkins incorporated into the system. I think the Titans are a better football team. I think they're the side here, especially getting points in terms of bets. But just outright, I'll take the Titans to win. You're going with the Lurs again.
Look, Will Levis is going to be in a very, very tough spot. He has to go now on the road as a rookie to Acrisure in Pittsburgh against that pass rush. He's going to be under duress the entire game.
This seems like a game that the Steelers just – these are the games that they lose, that they shouldn't lose. This is like that Zach Wilson coming into – to Acrisure a couple years ago. That's this type of game. That's why I'm taking the Titans.
I mean, it's going to be I don't see it being a very pretty game. It's going to be I think it's going to be a lot closer.
Oh, come on now. The Steelers can't put anybody away, especially if Mitch Trubisky's in the start. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, Kansas City and Miami. That is the Germany game, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time for those here on the East Coast. I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas City. I think they're the better side. Look, Miami against playoff teams, we know their history. They have not beat a playoff team since week 3 of last year. All right, they cannot beat the good teams. Kansas City, good teams with great quarterbacks and great coaches that lose, especially lose poorly the week before, always come out with their hair on fire. I will take Kansas City to beat Miami.
Yeah, I like Kansas City here also. Just a little bit of a, I don't know, just enjoy the 2 good games this week. This one has to be in Germany, so it's at 9 in the morning. Nobody's going to be able to watch that.
I'll be up.
It's just like, come on.
Can't wait.
I do not like these overseas games.
I don't like them either because there's only 3 games in the 4 o'clock window as well. That pisses me off.
Yeah, and there's no Octobox this week, so
bothers me.
It's bad.
All right, let's go with the Rams traveling to Lambeau to face the Packers. I'm going to go and take the Rams. I think they're a better football team. I think they run the ball. Jordan Love is not a good quarterback, point blank. I don't trust any of their weapons. And yes, I think Matt LaFleur is a good coach. Where's my evidence? That's 5 straight games without a first-half touchdown. So even the plays that are scripted aren't working for Matt LaFleur. So I don't know what to make of it. I think the Rams are a better team. They're the better side.
Yeah, Rams for sure. And the Packers are favored here.
The Packers are favored by 3.
Did I hear that? I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know if Vegas wants to lose money.
I think it's being at home, indoor, warm weather team. It's going to be cold in Lambeau. I think that's kind of where the home field advantage kicks in. I think that's a little bit much, but whatever.
I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem for Sean McVay and the Rams.
No, I agree. All right, let's go with the Vikings at the Falcons. I'm going to take the Falcons. I don't trust the Vikings quarterback situation. Still no Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison's been fine, but again, who's throwing him the ball? Their defense isn't very good either. Atlanta should be able to run the ball, possession, and they've been a lot better at home. Desmond Ridder has only had 1 home loss in the last 6 years as a quarterback, dating all the way back to his first year at Cincinnati. So they're going to be fine at home, run the football with Algier and Bijan Robinson. The Vikings don't have what it takes to come back from behind. So I think the Falcons are going to get ahead early with the run game, kind of ball possession, the way to win.
Hey, I agree with you, but never count Atlanta out of blowing a lead.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, for sure. Commanders at the Patriots. You're going to go and take the Commanders. I think the Patriots against a young Sam Howell, that defense, we know what Bill Belichick does against rookie quarterbacks. Now, Sam obviously was in the system last year, so he's not technically a rookie, but first-year starter. Young first-year starter. We know what Belichick does against those type of players. So I'll take the Patriots to win in kind of a sloppy one, a little 17-16 type game. Sam Howell makes one more mistake than Mac Jones. I'll take the Patriots.
I just don't like Mac Jones. I don't like the Patriots offense. I think it's next to the Steelers and worst offense in the league. I'm pretty sure that's what it is by the numbers, too.
It's probably around there.
Look, this is a pick 'em game to me, and I do not like the Patriots. I think Washington showed a lot against Philadelphia this last week. Obviously,
they actually played well.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
The pass rush, the defense, that's enough to throw Mac Jones off. So it's going to be a close one, but I like Washington here.
Could not disagree. I feel very strongly about the Patriots there. Seattle traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens. I'm going to take the Ravens. They are 16-1 in their last 17 against, or I guess in Lamar's career, 17 games in Lamar's career against NFC teams. That's wild. So Lamar, for the first time when you're not used to seeing him, he is a handful, just fast, shifty. Again, there's no real way to prepare for Lamar. Who does Seattle have on their roster that can simulate Lamar Jackson?
Nobody.
You just don't. If you haven't seen him yet, or if you haven't seen him in a while, and you're one of those NFC teams that don't play him often, he is just a load to prepare for. I don't know what you do. I'll take the Ravens to win close. I think it's going to. The score is going to be closer than I think it's going to feel. I think it's going to be closer to a 2-touchdown game. Seattle scores late to bring it close.
Yeah, I like the Ravens here too. I was going to ask you the question: do you like this game to stay a little closer? Because you look at you look at our top 10 teams list. Seattle at 7, Ravens at 3. Yeah, so
I think
it's something to look at.
I just worry about the backdoor cover. I would probably take the Ravens minus 5.5, but I worry about the backdoor cover with Seattle, so it's a stay away game for me. Bears at the Saints. I think the Saints are a much better football team. I don't know who's starting at quarterback. Is it Fields or Badgett? Does it really matter?
Nope.
If we're being honest,
doesn't.
That defense is actually fairly competent in New Orleans, and Derek Carr has showed that he's at least somewhat serviceable. I'll take the Saints.
He's better than the alternative in Chicago.
That's true.
Yeah, New Orleans wins there.
All right, the Bucs traveling to Houston to play the Texans. So I have smartly known when to bet for and against Houston. I'm hoping that continues today, or I guess this week. I'll take Houston to win at home. You're taking the Bucs. To me, I think I'm getting the better quarterback, although I do think Baker's serviceable. I think I'm getting the better quarterback. I think I'm getting the better coach, to be honest with you. I think DeMeco Ryans a better coach than Todd Bowles. And I'm getting the home team, so I'll go ahead and take the Texans to win.
I'm going to go and take the Bucs. I like – we talked about it. So far this year, I kind of like Baker Mayfield.
He's been fine. They've also lost 3 straight.
Yes, but he plays hard, and that team plays chippy. And this is a game where Houston drops it, especially with a young quarterback.
We'll see. Cardinals at Cleveland. We're both going to go ahead and take Cleveland. The Cardinals are just not a good football team right now. And against that defense, do we really think Josh Dobbs is going to compete against that defense? I personally do not.
No.
Yeah. All right, Colts at the Panthers. Also both going to go ahead and take the Colts. And again, smartly, I've bet for and against the Panthers so far this year. I will bet against them here. I don't think they win 2 straight. Frank Reich against his former team's got a little extra there in the bag. Frank Reich actually against his former team. I think he will have something in the bag, so it stays close. But Indy's a better team. I think Shane Steichen's a better coach.
Yeah, Indy here is definitely the side. I said it last week. I'm surprised that Carolina won. Great pick by you last week, for sure. But I think that little stroke of luck comes to an end there in Carolina.
Yeah, I would agree. Cowboys at the Eagles. Eagles are a better team. They are 1 on the issue power rankings for a reason, and I don't think that changes. I think they're too physical of a football team, and with the roller coaster that is Dallas, having played a good game last week, I think they come back down to earth. Having to go to cold, windy Philadelphia, I don't think plays well for them. I'll take Philly.
Yeah, Philly's the side here. Better defense. Better offense, I would say, and just a more consistent team. They don't tend to do the stupid things that Dallas does. And they don't have Dak, so that means they're not going to throw 4 interceptions.
That's true. Giants at the Raiders. You're taking the Raiders. I'm going with the Giants. I don't even know who's starting a quarterback.
That's ridiculous.
No, I don't think it is. I don't know who's starting a quarterback, but I think their defense is good enough. Have you seen that Raiders offense?
I watched them on Monday night.
Dude, it is so bad. It is so bad. And I think in some weird realm of Narnia, I think the Giants actually have a better offense, no matter who's at quarterback. So I will go ahead and take the Giants.
In the weird realm of Narnia?
I don't know. In some dimension somewhere, they're better than the Raiders. I'll take the Giants.
Okay. At the end of the day, I like Jimmy G more than whoever's going to start.
Do you feel good about either of these teams taking them? Do you feel good about the Raiders?
No.
I don't feel great about the Giants, so it is what it is.
About the Raiders?
It doesn't matter at this point. Bills at the Bengals, Cincinnati at home. I think they are playing really good football. I think they win at home. Joe Burrow rips up the banged-up secondary and defense of Buffalo.
Yeah, Joe Shiesty's going to do his thing this week. He's starting to turn it on. He's starting to turn it on.
Yeah, he is.
And that's going to roll through the rest of the season. Get ready for a lot of Cincy picks.
Joe Shiesty. Chargers at the Jets on Monday Night Football. I called it with the Panthers last week. I'm going to go and call another upset of the week. I will take the New York Football Jets.
Oh, my God, he said it.
To beat Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Actually, not to beat Justin Herbert. To beat Brandon Staley and the Chargers. I think Zach Wilson goes for 2 touchdowns, and they limit Herbert and that offense to 17 points. I'm going 23-17 Jets.
23-17 Jets.
23-17 Jets. The Chargers have a chance to win at the end. 4th down, don't get it.
No, Chargers win pretty handily.
No, the Jets.
No. I'm going to take the Chargers to win pretty handily.
No, the New York Football Jets.
Yes, and that's exactly why I'm picking the Chargers.
Calling upset of the week, guys. That is our predictions. I'm taking the Titans. You're taking the Lurs. I'll take the Pats. You're taking the Commanders. I'll take Houston. You're taking the Bucks. I got Giants, and you got the Raiders in that awful game that nobody wants to watch. And I'll take the Jets upset of the week over the Chargers. You are, of course, taking the Chargers. Those are our Week 9 predictions, guys. Don't go anywhere. We have bets on a budget coming off a 3-2 winning week.
We are back. Third segment of The Issue here on November 2nd. Pretty good one. We got our Week 9 bets on a budget to get to. And then, of course, the game of the week, Cowboys and Eagles. Should be a good matchup. We were talking about it a little earlier. There are not that many good games this week in the NFL, so finding the game of the week was a bit easier than it normally is.
This one stood out.
It did.
It was a needle in a not a needle in a haystack. It was like a needle among like 7 pieces of hay.
Yeah,
it was pretty obvious. It was like a semi truck in a haystack.
Giant flashing lights saying that was the game of the week. Yeah. So it should be a pretty good segment. Guys, thanks for watching, however you are, and however you got here. You go check out theissuesports.com. We got a lot of good stuff over there. Sign up for the newsletter. It comes out every single Wednesday. Right there on the homepage, just type the email in, press sign up, and then accept it when it comes over to the inbox, and you will receive the newsletter. All the social media platforms can be found over there on theissuesports.com, as well as featured videos and all kinds of stuff. Just go check it out. A wealth of information, and hopefully we have a lot of big show news coming out. We're still kind of in the works with some things and trying to get you guys the best product that we possibly can. But as long as you're checking the website, subscribing, following social medias, you will be in the know. But to start out, we have our Week 9 bets on a budget, the 5 best bets for the value that we could find them. Here we go.
Off a winning week 3-2. Let's go start with Kansas City versus Miami. Kansas City is -2.5. It's in Germany. I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas City. First of all, the team with more continuity, right? Kansas City's been together for a while. They have veterans on that team. Miami seems a little bit more high-flying, younger, kind of, some different pieces. Chubb comes in, and Ramsey and Tyreek Hill. It's a lot of moving parts. Obviously, I know they've been together for more than 2 weeks, but my point being, going overseas, I think Kansas City, the more veteran team, is going to be a little bit better prepared for it. And also, really good teams coming off a bad loss. We know how much, in terms of betting them, they are a much better team to bet the following week after a bad loss. So Kansas City -2.5.
Yeah, I like that one. It's definitely the side to take. I like the way Miami has played. And, of course, they have a lot of really good things going for them. But they're just not at that point yet where they can start... Where you feel comfortable taking them in big games.
Well, also, you get the value. So, yes, in terms of just who's going to win, I think most people think Kansas City's going to win. But in terms of value on the spread, you're getting the hook on the right side at 2.5 as opposed to 3.5. So,
right.
If it's 3.5, might take Miami. 2.5, Kansas City's the side. The Rams +3 at Green Bay. We were kind of surprised Green Bay favored by 3 here. Feels like a play just for Lambeau Field and it's going to be cold. That seems like the only reason you would take Green Bay. I get a better quarterback. I get a better offensive, around the same offensive line, maybe a little bit worse, but still serviceable. I get better weapons. I get a better coach. Arguably a better defense. To me, the Rams are a much better football team.
I don't understand where this favoritism is coming for Green Bay, I guess. There's not a single point on this team that I can point to and go, that's why they're going, that's why they're favored at least.
Maybe the fact that they have 2 good running backs and it's going to be cold. Maybe, but still, the Rams can run the football too. So,
I don't understand that one.
Yeah, no, I'm out. Arizona +8.5 at Cleveland. This is just so many points. So many points for 2 teams that aren't Cleveland's offense isn't going to put up a ton of points, right? So it's not going to be like a rout. Cleveland's not going to go out and put up 45 on you, and then you have to score 35 to stay close, right? It's going to be a 21-16 type of game, right? It's going to be a slugfest in Cleveland, cold, wet, windy. So getting that many points in a game like that, most places it's 8.5. You can find it at 8 if you're a Cleveland bettor. and you want to get that number down, you can find it at 8 some places, but I think 8.5 is the side if you're getting Arizona at 8.5.
Plus, Arizona's been pretty solid for us covering the spread on a lot of picks.
We didn't pick them last week against Baltimore, but they covered that spread. It was like I think 9.5. They lost by 7.
Look, so we talk about it all the time. The average NFL game is what, 3 to 4 points spread?
I think it's 4. Yeah.
So I mean, like, just by the numbers. That's a solid bet. That's a solid bet. If they're going to give us that money, we're going to take that money.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's go Indianapolis. Another value bet here, favored by 2.5. The hook is on your side. They're at Carolina. You could argue better quarterback. I think Gardner Minshew is probably more productive right now than Bryce Young is. I think the better offensive line's in Indianapolis, and then they can run the football more effectively. I think the better defense is in Indy. I like Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce on the outside against Carolina, who does not have standout corners except for J.C. Horn. I think Indianapolis is the side, and again, you get the value at 2.5. They can win by a field goal, and you are covered, so I'll take Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indianapolis here for sure. Is there anything to like or special in Carolina in the slightest? Like, that would even make you sway?
The potential of Bryce Young, but I mean, he hasn't showcased it a ton this year.
I mean, he just has nobody around him also.
There's not a lot around him now.
So, just by an overall roster perspective, I think Indianapolis is the definite side.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going to do like a cold. It's not an indoor team going to a cold play. They're going to Carolina. It might maybe a little wet, but it's not going to affect the game at all.
Yeah.
Cincinnati -3 versus Buffalo. I would feel a ton better if it was, again, 2.5, getting that value, but I'll still take it at 3 with the chance maybe it pushes, but I'll take Cincinnati to win by about 4. I think it's a 27-23 game against Buffalo. I think Joe Burrow is fantastic, and I just don't know what I'm getting week to week with Buffalo. They looked decent this past week. Did they come back down to earth? Most likely. I guess not back down to earth, but did they have one of their off games? Probably. Yeah. I think they're somewhere in the 20 to 23 point range. I think Cincinnati's closer to 24 to 27, so I'll take Cincinnati -3.
Yeah, Cincinnati here. Joe Burrow is starting to get back to the football that he can play. It's an anomaly when he goes out and doesn't do well, so it feels good to see it coming back to the mean. And I think Cincinnati's just going to be the way to go on most picks from here on out.
This feels like a 5-0 week to me.
Does it?
It really does.
I mean,
that's another game in contention for game of the week, but we ended up going with the divisional matchup.
Yeah.
Dallas and Philadelphia. I think divisional, at Philly
Physical,
just feels more game of the week ish.
Plus,
but that's a game that's going to be a great game to watch. Cincinnati and Buffalo. Can't wait. That's the Sunday night game, so that'll be going.
Yeah, it'll be really good. Run us back through.
Kansas City -2.5 in that Germany game versus Miami. The Rams +3 at Green Bay. Arizona +8.5 at Cleveland. Indianapolis -2.5 at Carolina. And Cincinnati -3 versus Buffalo.
Perfect. Need a good week of bets. We are 53% on the season, so over 500. But looking to get
that feels
back
like a 5-0 week
betting.
to me. That feels like a 5-0 week.
Minimum 4-1.
I do. Yeah, I don't feel great about the Arizona one.
Hey, it's okay.
Because would it shock me if Cleveland throws up a goose egg on them?
I mean, no, not with that defense.
Every other bet, though, I feel really good about.
Something to keep an eye on.
Feel good about it.
All right, guys. Time for game of the week for week 9 of the NFL. We got the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Here we go.
Well, this is an interesting one because this is the time of the year when you really separate the contenders from the pretenders. And do I think Dallas is a pretender? No, I don't view them as like a fringe playoff team. They'll probably be the number 1 wild card team in the NFC and somebody that they'll probably go on the road to the 5th seed and beat them. So the 5th seed will probably be New Orleans. I would take Dallas in that game against New Orleans. So it's not like that we're separating contender from pretender, but I think we are separating the high-end playoff teams from the wild card level teams.
Yeah.
And especially with Philadelphia having the lead in the division at 7-1. You start getting 2, 2.5, 3 games up. That starts to become a little bit too difficult to overcome, especially in the last 7, 8 weeks of the year. So that's why this game is so pivotal. If Dallas wins this game, I don't want to say put themselves in the driver's seat, but they, in a sense, control their own destiny in terms of the division. So if they can win this game, that's huge for them. And again, Philly, you can distance yourself and really separate yourself, contender from somewhat pretender, if you win this game here. So let's start with Philadelphia. Keys to win. Offensively, I think you got to run the rock. Well, one, yes, to establish physicality, but everybody knows that. Oh, you want to run the ball, stay balanced, blah, 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 blah. The main reason, keep Jalen healthy. Have you seen him hobbling around the last, 4 or 5 weeks? He has not looked fully healthy. And if you want any semblance or any shot to win the NFC and win a couple playoff games, you have to have Jalen Hurts healthy. Marcus Mariota, he is a fine backup. He's not going to lead you to a Super Bowl. Jalen will. So you got to keep Jalen healthy, keep him upright, run the rock, only drop him back 25 times. Do not give him 1 or 2 design runs and a couple scrambles here and there. Make sure he stays healthy.
That is, I think, one of the biggest things. And then what does running the football do? It opens up the play action pass and being able to throw over the top. And that's the big thing. When you have targets like A.J. Brown and you have targets
Devontae Smith,
Dallas Goedert, you have so much speed.
Quez Watkins, yeah.
That offense is built to be two-dimensional. So don't limit yourself. Run the football early and don't make them just pin their ears back.
Yeah, I would agree.
If you get to a 4th and 1, don't rely on the push all the time.
Yeah.
How about that?
The Philly defense, you got to get turnovers. We know the secondary is not very good. So unless they're getting turnovers and stealing possessions, you can see what happened with Washington. 31 points to Washington. Are we freaking kidding, right? Like, that defense isn't that good unless they get turnovers. You look at games that they get turnovers and they win almost 75% of them. So if you can get to 3, especially we know Dak can throw some picks. If you get 2 picks and a fumble, this could turn into a 10, 12, 14-point game, which is what Philly wants to be. I would say it's critical on defense because they're not great at just flat out throwing up goose eggs. You have to steal possessions, get turnovers.
I agree. That's true in any game, but especially
true in any game, especially when you don't have a great defense. It's good defense, not great.
Yeah.
Dallas offense, you have to exploit that secondary with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has to eat like he did this past week. He had 11 catches for 198 and 2 touchdowns or something like that this past week. It was wild. CeeDee has to have another huge game. He's got to go for at least 8 catches. He's got to go for at least 150, and he's got to have a touchdown if they want any chance. You have to exploit that secondary because you're not going to be able to run the ball that effectively against that front. If there's a strength on that team, it is the front 7. They might not be great on the back end. That, especially the front 4, can stop the run. They can get after the passer. You have to exploit that secondary. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks over the top, right? That's the way to beat them.
We talk about it all the time. Getting the early window throws, right? You have to get the ball out quick. That's another thing that Dallas has to do. Yeah. You can't let that pass rush get to Dak because when Dak's under pressure, he makes stupid decisions with the football.
Yeah, another kind of secondary key to victory here for on offense. Getting Tony Pollard involved in the pass game, there is a mismatch in terms of linebackers. Philly lost, I think, 2 of their top 2 linebackers from last year. So if you can get Tony Pollard in space against these linebackers who are good, not special, then that would be a great way to exploit that as well.
I agree.
Dallas defense, you got to stop the run. If Philly's goal is to run the rock, you have to stop the run. If you can make them one-dimensional and Jalen's going to throw, you can get after him, get him on the ground a couple times. It's going to be cold. He starts peeling himself up from the turf, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in the first half. He's going to start to think about, I got to get this ball quicker, rush throws. Next thing you know, you can basically count on that first window throw. Now you can start jumping routes, but we know they have a secondary that's aggressive with Deron Bland, who has 3 touchdowns as a DB this year, right? Yeah. So if you can stop the run, what that sets up is Philly having to throw more. You can rush the passer more, which means you get after Jalen Hurts more, which means they get the ball out early, which means first window throws are there, which means you could start jumping routes. It's a big domino effect. You stop the run, domino, 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 aggressive first window throws, pick sixes.
Do you think Dallas has the personnel and the guys to stop that run, though? I mean, because
I do, though. They rotate 7 or 8 guys in on that front 4. They will have fresh bodies. Now, talent-wise, they're fine. They don't have any special standout. Jordan Davis, the other guy from Georgia that just went top. Carter,
yeah, Jalen Carter.
Thank you, Joe. They don't have any of those guys, but they got some good guys up front. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
I'm going to take Philly by 4.
I'm taking Philly by 3. I'm going to go 30-27.
I'm going to go 23-19.
All right. I always go a little higher scoring than you do.
Yeah, you do. Well, I guess it's not prime time. It's 4 o'clock, but I feel like in this game, unders, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
23-19.
It's going to be good, especially in a divisional matchup like this.
Love divisional matchups.
When both teams are really good, I'd say they're the top 3 in the NFC.
Somewhere around there.
So it should be very interesting. Good Week 9 matchup there. Guys, that is all we have for you today. So make sure you're going to the website, checking out theissuesports.com. Everything we have over there, all the merch, all the videos, social media, the newsletter. There's just endless amount of stuff over there. Go check it out. Can't think of anything else to say.
No, that's it.
I'm pretty much out. Anything?
Appreciate it.
Anything?
That was the issue. Just going.